Well, economist Udoh joins us in the studio to talk more on this. Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Nice to see
All
you.
right.
Good.
It seems a lot of Nigerians are not really clear about the Finance Act that 2020 that has been signed into law. Make us understand what Nigerians are in for with this finance law, this Finance Act rather, that has been signed.
Okay, so thank you so much. But in simple terms, what the Finance Act is all about is how the government intends to finance its budget. Now, for those of us that have been following the budgetary plan and all of it, government is planning to run a deficit budget. Now, how do they intend to fund it? That's what the Finance Act is all about. And it clearly states in it the tax plan of the government.
Especially its impact on them as citizens.
Now the impact on the citizens. Tax in all simplicity is a burden to the ultimate consumer. That's the impact the citizen needs to be aware of. Now, the Finance Bill, Act rather, has cut across all tiers of economic participants. So it's cut across the government, it's cut across the businesses, and then it's brought home to us individuals. Business, as we know it, is production. Now, so let's take, for instance, the VAT, the increment in VAT. VAT is collectible as the production line proceeds. So, for instance, say you're producing a shoe, a supplier supplies leather to a manufacturer. At the point of supply, he's not only putting his cost in play, he's also adding 7.5% collectible VAT to his price to the manufacturer. So at that point, VAT is remittable to the government. Now, when the producer, the manufacturer, manufactures, that tax which he paid to the supplier of his raw material, when he finishes his product, say his sandals, for instance, and he places his sandals on sale to the middleman or the wholesaler, now, at that point, he also transfers that 7.5, including his own production costs and all of that, to the wholesaler. Further down the line, the wholesaler must sell to the retailer.
Who also adds.
And tries to recoup his 7.5.
So at the end of the day, say three of us are seated together. The one who picks up that pair of sandals bears the ultimate burden of tax. The impact on the individual is simply erosion to his bottom line. So let's take, for instance, our pay, the take-home pay is 30,000 naira per month. That 7.5 comes out of there.
All right. Now, certainly, when it comes to the issue of taxes, that is how government generates its revenue. So people certainly can't question that when it comes to the ideas of it. But communicating this to Nigerians to understand and own it and be ready to be part of it. Do you have any concerns with that?
Yeah, I do. A lot of concerns. Mike, not so many people are enlightened about taxes and all of that. The common man on the street who's probably selling his chewing gum and sweets on the bridges and all that, who is probably not gone through any form of formal education, taxes nebulous to him. So the government needs to have more avenues of engagement for the people.
All right. Udoh, thank you so much for your time on the program now.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Economist Udoh joins us now in the studio to bring us perspectives to this. Good morning, Hardin. Nice to see you.
Same here, Mike.
Great. Now, make us understand, when it comes to increment in taxes and all of that, does timing have anything to do with it, especially when it has to do with the way the economy is? Is there any right timing to capitalize on tax increment?
Well, I wouldn't say there's any right or wrong timing involved here, because on the one hand, government is the one that administers tax through its organs and all of that. And at the beginning of every year, you have a budget, just like you and I, Mike, have a budget. So one of the best times is to ascertain what your budget will be, plan in that regard, and also match it with how you're going to generate revenue for it. So some people will say, hey, the beginning of a fiscal period will be a very good time to actually begin to introduce those things. But then knowing how life is, life happens, and let's not hang semantics up there or pictures up there to say, oh, it's something outlandish. No, life happens to all of us.
And taxes happening
And taxes happening now. Yeah, it is. And so, for instance, the Nigerian government is faced with an emergency, probably in the health sector. And we have the legal organs, and the government thinks it best to increase a tax in the middle of the year or in the middle of the month. They'll go for it. Just like you and I will actually sit down to appropriate funds or raise revenue to, say, go to work in the month. Okay. It's that simple.
I see.
Yeah.
But some have said that the government shouldn't be looking at the informal sector as a cash cow, that it has its implications on the economy.
Yes, true. Well, yeah. There's the people that think in that way. But let's look at the Nigerian economy as a whole. The informal sector is huge. And it's comprised of people and businesses who actually have their own personal longings. They want access to good roads, they want quality education, they want access to health as well, housing, and these things cost money. They're still going to hold the government responsible if they don't have access to these things.
But they say when they paid the 5%, they haven't seen as much. So what is the guarantee that the 7.5 will deliver
yeah, so
what
that's
we have
where
been asking for?
Yeah, I agree. You know, again, I think in one of our shows we kept saying there are government leakages. Government has not delivered in all of its promises. So again, hold the government responsible.
How?
One, the VAT, for instance. You sit down and say, oh, I'm paying for this, and it's costing me this. And you have active unions in the country. They form pressure points. Now, we're not saying go and vandalize government property, but we're saying there are avenues to address concerns. They are the law courts. Take, for instance, there's this utility, electricity, that everybody is clamoring for. Recently, in January, they were like, there's going to be a hike. And we saw how the people addressed it. Some of them went and picketed offices, calling for services to be rendered. You can't be increasing my electricity bill when you have not even given me service for what I have paid for.
So there's no value for money.
So there's no value for money. I will say, if you could do that for electricity, then you could easily do that for taxes. Hey, I'm paying my road tax. I'm paying VAT for this, and I expect to receive this. I am not receiving this. Union is not sleeping. The law courts are not sleeping. These are avenues to actually use to call government to order.
All right. We'll wait to see how things certainly, it's law now, so like he said, life happens, so taxes are happening.
Yeah, they really happen now.
Harding Udoh, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Economist Harding Udoh joins us in the studio to talk more on this. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you.
Now, it is said that the VAT increase is just one of the things in this new act. That there are some other compensatory relief, like certain goods that are exempted, and so that should kind of bring a balance to all of this for Nigerians. But when you look at it critically, from your point of view, does this create any sort of balance, especially when you say some goods will not be taxed, but when you get to the merchants, when you get to the market, you still see them imposing these taxes one way or the other?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll say that with the act that has been passed now into law, the bill that has been passed into law, yes, some people are going home happy. Especially the small, medium-scale enterprises. They're on tax holiday, so to speak. And that's a breath of life for people in that stream of business, you know. But then on the other hand, like you said, when we go to the market, we all feel the pain. Eventually, everybody is going to have to share in this burden of tax. So it's not just the business entities you're looking at. For instance, when you speak about untaxable or tax products that do not attract tax, like education, medical services, medical goods, and all of that, it's a good thing. But when we go to the market, the burden will be on us. But we are all responsible for what we choose to buy.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for instance, if you know, for instance, we have excise duties on importations. The more I choose to limit the goods that I purchase or that are classified as foreign goods, that burden, I have avoided it. So we need to become more deliberate or more involved in what services or goods or products we are actually trying to procure.
All right. Now, at times like this, certainly there are businesses that impose what one may call mischief tax, whereby originally they are not captured in this value-added tax, but because government has increased tax, so they just put it there just as a way of making more money.
More money.
How do you monitor that kind of situation, and what impact is that going to have in the long run?
In the long run. Well, you know, Mike, you know, there's this new tax that the tax that's the stamp duty tax, for instance. You remember the government initially was at a 1,000 naira limit, and you and I had to always pay 15 naira extra on every POS transaction. Businesses are like human beings. Nobody wants to operate a business at a loss. So again, economics is a behavioral science. The government has enacted these laws. The businessman, on the other hand, how is he reading that law? What is he seeing? How is he reacting to it? Is he responding in a positive manner? Is he not? Remember, the CBN, for instance, has come back severally on that POS transaction charge to say, listen, we never told anyone to pass the burden to the ultimate customer. Yeah. But how do you want to control the owner of the business? He's saying, listen, for every person who comes to my filling station and has to pay 50 naira extra, I save myself the burden. He's factored it in as part of his cost. Now, the only way I see government going about it by monitoring is by moral suasion. The producer is the ultimate owner of his business. And every cost that comes in, he's in business to earn a living, Mike. And his livelihood is his profit. Now, if 1,000 people come in and he takes 50 naira from 1,000 people, it's going to hit into his own bottom.
Yeah, but there are instances where if you bought this teacup, for instance, for 10 naira and you want to sell it at 1,000 naira,
True.
that is you.
That is me.
But if you want to quote the issue of tax, this kind of tax, for instance, or maybe there has been the issue of the VAT, and you want to quote VAT on it, which originally is not, that is a different thing altogether, isn't it?
True. Well, that's where I say I earlier spoke, I referenced responsibility on behalf of the consumer.
Okay.
You know, we have the Consumer Protection Board as well. So you see, if you and I go in ignorance to purchase this, we don't read our receipts. Yeah? People get away with a lot of things.
Yes.
But when you read your receipt and you know your rights as a consumer, there's so many ways you can pursue to address these things.
Okay.
By the time there's a class action through the Consumer Protection Board or rights, you find out that people begin to adjust. Nigerians, you know, we make a scapegoat of one.
Yeah, of course.
Everyone falls into line. Yeah.
All right, Hadi and Udoh, thank you for your time on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Right.